Hey, what's up, everybody? So if you are here because you are looking to learn how to create wealth, today's video is all about how to build wealth for beginners. Yes, you could do this even if you've never done it before. Y'all, I'm opening the doors and I'm walking you straight down the line to understand the tips, the strategies, and all the steps to creating wealth for yourself and your family. So if you are joining me for the first time, welcome in. I'm Dr. Kawana D. Irving, and I am known as the wealth creator, the millionaire wealth creator, because over the past few years, I've helped several entrepreneurs across the United States of America tap into and curate collectively over $31 million in business revenues and growing. So you're definitely in the right place if you want to know who I am. Of course, I've been featured in CBS, ABC, The List TV, Success Magazine, and so many other reputable media outlets and platforms. Of course, I was just recently listed by the San Francisco Business Times as one of their top 100 fastest growing private companies in the entire San Francisco Bay Area. So if anybody knows how to show you how to create wealth from the beginning, trust me, I started from zero. You are in the right place if this is something that you literally want to learn. So I'm going to walk you through exactly some of the strategies and tips. And trust me, it's not just one thing, because a lot of times people, they come on and they hear, they go online and they hear, oh, if you just sell a book, you can get rich. If you just create a course, you can get rich. Or if you could just get a contract, you can get rich. But there are so many other moving parts, which is why a lot of people who do that thing, like, they haven't figured it out just yet, because they're like, oh, I was told all I had to do was this, but it hasn't worked. And the reason why it hasn't worked is because people don't tell you the back end of all the things, all the moving parts that goes together to help you actually grow and scale. So this is exactly what I do. I show people how to start, grow, and scale businesses exponentially, so that for the purpose of creating not just wealth for themselves, but generational wealth, which is definitely one of the things, that is our, God-given, right, jobs and duties to create generational wealth. So it says in the scripture, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, right? And so you definitely want to know how you can do that. And there's specific tips and strategies. So I'm going to start exactly just kind of by showing you. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Robert Kiyosaki. So anyway, Robert Kiyosaki, right? He's the guy that wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So if you've never read that book before, I would highly recommend that you read it, because it opens up your mind to understanding why we do the things that we do and how we have the results that we have, especially in Black and brown communities. Like, why are we so left behind? Because literally there are things that rich people, wealthy people tell their kids and teach their kids, from childhood and adolescence all the way up, that poor people don't even know to teach their kids, which is why for generations to come, you call it the generational curse, but it's just things that you know and things that you don't know that's continuing to be passed down. So somebody got to say, this is it. Like, enough is enough. Like, I'm ready to break the generational curse. Is that person going to be you? So as you're joining in, let me know where you're joining from. Welcome into the room. Let me know where you are joining in from. I'm going to pull up the comments here. So let me know where you're joining in from. Just drop your state, your city, your location, where you're from. If you have a business, let me know. If you're in business, all those great things. So anyways, so this guy, Robert Kiyosaki, he has a game called the Cash Flow Quadrant. I played that game with my young adult children who are like 19 and 20, right? But anyway, it just gets your mind to start thinking about assets versus liabilities, like thinking about how every decision that you make is either making you or breaking you. And so there is a lot more that goes into what money is, how we spend it, and how to attract more money in our lives than just getting a paycheck and going to the bank to pay some bills. It's a lot more involved in that, right? In wealth creation. So anyways, I'm going to share my screen because I want to walk you through like this cash flow quadrant, so you can have a deeper understanding of, what it looks like to be on the outside of wealth creation and how to get yourself on the inside, the other side of money, where money will never be a problem again. Because if you don't see it, of course, you don't really have a better understanding of why you are in the position that you are in, if you are trying to figure out how to break through some financial curses that have been passed down for generations to come. So anyways, let me go ahead and share my screen here. And I want to share this right here. So let me know if you can see it. Let me know if you can see my screen. So anyways, this is going to be about the beginner's guide, basically for wealth creation. No matter where you're starting, you don't have to start with hundreds of thousands. You can start literally from zero, and really over the next, year. It shouldn't take more than a year if you do these things strategically to really create some wealth for yourself. So anyways, the cash flow quadrant kind of falls into like 4 different buckets. Okay, so everyone in the world fall in one or more of these particular buckets. So the first bucket is determines basically how wealthy or how poor, I want to say, you are. So this first bucket is basically people who have a W-2 job. This is the first bucket. Okay, employees, workers, people who traditionally have a 9 to 5 working for someone else, helping them build their dreams while your dreams remain deferred. So W-2. Now, as a quick disclaimer, there is nothing wrong with working for someone else. There is nothing wrong with having a JOB. I believe that everyone is not designed to have a business, and that somebody got to do some type of work somewhere, right? In order for everything to continue working. But I will say that the one thing that keeps W-2 employees stuck in the working middle class and stuck in what's called the rat race, like the rat trap, as Robert Kiyosaki talks about often in his book, is basically you are exchanging this thing right here called time, which is the most valuable asset that we have. Most valuable because, of course, you can't get that back. You're exchanging that for this thing called money, exchanging time for money. And because time is limited, of course, there's only 24 hours in a day. And by the time you sleep 8 to 10 of those particular hours, there's only so many hours where the sun is actually up that you can work, and legally so many hours that you can work in a day. So with that said, if your time is limited and your money is completely anchored in your time, then guess what else is limited? Your ability to produce money is limited. And so when someone tells you, hey, we're going to pay you, $20 an hour, then guess what? You're stuck at $20 an hour. Let's just say you work a 10-hour shift. You're stuck literally at $200 a day. That is the max amount of money that you can make, $200 a day, which is really what I'm saying. That's about $4K a month. That's about $4K a month. And I'm talking on the big end, right? This is not even like, this is above minimum wage. I'm talking on the big end. So this is about $4K a month after you're taxed like 50%, because guess what? You're taxed for payroll, you're taxed for income taxes, then you got to pay sales tax when you spend your money, then you got to pay store tax, you got to pay for everything, taxes, right? So at the end of the day, your 4K a month is taxed 50%. So you're really just living off of 2K a month and just, trying to figure out how you're paying $2,500, a month, like in rent, just to keep a roof over your head. It is so crazy, y'all. So anyways, this is where people remain what I call poor. Now, when I say poor, I mean functional poor. I mean just over broke, right? You're just 1 or 2 paychecks away from having to be homeless and having to depend on social services. Like you're just 1 or 2 paychecks away, okay? This is why people who have W-2 jobs without any investment strategies, without a side hustle, without a business, or without something else where you're actually in a position to create wealth or pad your income, or have multiple jobs or whatever. This is why most people stay stuck, because of the W-2 thing, right? Because we were duped. Go to school, get a job, and then you'll be able to retire rich, all of that stuff. You already know that the American dream is really not the American dream. The American dream should be what you decide that how you want to live your life, and you have to create it, right? And so anyway, so these are the poorest people. Like W-2, unfortunately, unless you are a top CEO, right? A top CEO of a company organizations, which really there's not very many positions for everybody to be a CEO, an executive. The top CEO, unless you're that person that makes about $300,000 a year, then guess what? You are the functional working middle class poor. Okay. So now the second quadrant is what I call business owners. No, I'm sorry, self-employed. Self-employed, okay? This is self-employed people. These are people who have sole proprietorships. These are people who have Side hustles, I'm just going to put SH, side hustles. You make a little bit of money outside of your, traditional 9 to 5. These side hustles, right? This is the second, in fact, when you look at this 4-quadrant, basically illustration, the people on the left makes the least amount of money. And I'm going to get to the people on the right where wealth creation actually can happen. Okay. On the left side, it's really hard to get ahead. On the right side, this is where you start to begin the process to creating wealth in your journey. And I'll explain that in just a moment. So self-employed people, because they believe things like, you're coming from a W-2, which is a whole mindset, right? This right here, when you believe that, if you go to school long enough, you'll be able to get a job, and you believe that you can save your way to wealth, and you believe certain things, your beliefs produce a result, and your lifestyle is a result of what you believe. So there's a whole mindset that comes with employees, right? So when people start side hustles, whether it's a sole proprietorship or just a side hustle, some type of thing on the side where it's just them, they typically bring that same mindset of a W-2 employee into their side hustle business. So they're exchanging time for money. And just like they exchanged time for money and there was limited abilities to produce more money as a W-2 employee, now your ability to produce more money as a side hustler or person who is an independent, business owner or whatever, now your money is limited as well, and you're self-employed. But not only that, this is a worse position because this doesn't come with no benefits. There's no benefits, right? There's no retirement, right? There's no safety net. There's no limit to how many hours you can work, right? No limit to hours, right? There's no limit to how many hours you work in a day, because people who are self-employed, they work around the clock. They work until they're done, right? That could be 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. I don't know how many hours, like some of you who are self-employed, how many hours, because there's nobody saying you got to punch the clock. There's nobody saying your time is up. You're not going to get overtime. In fact, you're not even paid on this side for overtime or anything. So self-employed people, they basically take on a job. They employ themselves and take on a job that gives no benefits. And this is how they stay stuck, right? And this is how so many business owners who, self-employed people who've been in business for themselves for a while, and they've been hustling, they can't seem to get out of the rat race, okay? So we have that. Now, I'm going to get over to talking about what you need to do to basically walk on the other side of money, okay? There's 2 types of people who are creating wealth. And if you want to create wealth, you got to become one or both of these types of people. Okay. The first one is a business owner. Okay. Business owner is completely different from the self-employed. The mindset is different, right? A whole different mindset, right? Business owners, they don't own a business. They own a system, which means that they build a business strategically so that it can run efficiently with or without them. They completely remove their time from dollars, right? They have employees. They have systems, operations, and procedures. They may have even venture capitalist investments, right? They may have seed capital, whatever, right? Or they may not have any capital from outside, they just have a running business, but it's an operational system, right? What you want to build to create wealth when you have a business is not a side hustle. You want to build a system. That means there's a step-by-step guide for every operational aspect of your business. You have an operational guide for how you do marketing. You have an operational guide for how you hire and fire. You have an operational guide for how you deliver services. You have an operational guide, for every aspect, for how you get paid, how often you get paid, how much people get paid. Every detail of your business is documented, right? And the great part about this right here is when you build a system, you also build what's called a company valuation. Okay. When you build a system, your company is valuated. So if you remember in the late 90s, the early 2000s, it was like in the the late 90s, early 2000s, where they had like all these startups, right? Everybody was talking about startup businesses, startup companies, So what they were doing was they were building these businesses, right, as a system. And then the valuation of the businesses is usually 10 times more than the revenues you produce. So 10 times more than the contracts that you have, the receivables that you have, 10 times more. So if you built basically a $300,000 a year business, the valuation is going to be 10x that, which is 3 million. And there are people who are looking, like investors that are looking to buy businesses that are already operational without the founder being involved, having to be involved, right? And so you could basically start a business, leverage business credit, leverage contracts, leverage all these different things, and you have your products and services automated and sell it for 3 million. So that's where the whole ideology behind business startups came from. It came from the ability to build something really amazing that's self-sufficient, that works without you, and you can sell it for 10 times more than what you've built. Okay. So these are the people who have what I call cash influx. Okay. Cash influx. These are the people who have enough money to not only pay their bills, and the purpose of having a business is not to pay their bills like the people who have jobs. The purpose of the person who has a job, usually they have a job to pay bills and to live. Okay. The purpose of a person who builds a business that is a system is to not only allow that asset that they've created to pay the bills, but also to pay them, their employees, and to do what I call become an investor. Okay. This is the second type of wealthy person on this particular 4 quadrant. Okay. Is an investor. Investors take the influx of the cash flow that they've accumulated from their business operation system, and then they invest it into passive income streams like real estate. And I'm not talking about real estate that you live in, right? That's a liability. I'm talking about real estate that you rent out, whether you're renting it out to individual people who are in your rooms, you're renting it out, to corporations, because corporations rent houses, personal private houses, rent it out on Verbo, which is like vacation rental, whatever that site is, right? One of those particular sites where you can rent vacation homes or whatever. So it's actually cash flowing. So a home that you can cash flow, that is an asset. Okay. Right. Investors invest in things like other assets, could be a car wash. Okay. An automated car wash that does not require manpower, maybe a manager or a tech somebody, but not manpower to manually wash. That is an asset because it's producing, and people are washing their cars all the time. If you look on the freeways, there's so many cars. There's too many cars everywhere. Like not just in California, but like in Detroit, like there's too many cars everywhere. And guess what? Those people need to wash their cars. And so this is an asset, right? People are washing clothes. So anything like a laundromat that you invest in is an asset. People are washing clothes. Not everybody, there's more people that are renters than people who are homeowners, and not everybody have washers and dryers in their home. So laundromats are going to always be around. And so these particular things are, I'm going to move my screen here, are called passive income streams, asset producing passive income streams. And so you have this thing on the right side of the quadrant where you have a business that's operational, that is producing wealth. And then you have assets that you've reinvested your profits into income producing assets so that you can continue moving your money forward, and your money begins to work for you. So at the end of the day, you have momentum, money, momentum. Okay. At the end of the day, you want to have money momentum. So there are 2 laws that govern, momentum, right? There's Newton's law of momentum talks about how an object in motion will remain in motion until acted upon by an outside force. And so when you have assets that are producing passively income and cash flow, basically the money momentum go from here and it'll start building over time. Right. This is why people typically just lean back on a job, because it takes a moment. It takes commitment. It takes consistency. It takes dedication to watch your money start slow. But then once it starts slow and build that momentum, it's going to start growing so fast that it will literally outpace your active income. It will outpace it, right? Which means that at this point, you will never have to work another day in your life because now your money is working for you, right? Many people employ themselves to make money, but smart people strategically, when you're in the process of building and creating wealth, you must employ your money to work for you, okay? Like let your money work for you. So money momentum, right? So you want to have money momentum. This is something that you want to get to. In order to have that, you must build a business, number one, that creates that cash flows, okay? And you want to take your profits from the business to become an investor, right? Become an investor. This is really how not only you create wealth, but you create a retirement plan, right? Because self-employed people or people who own their own business, there is no retirement. There is probably no 401k unless it came from a previous job that you had, right? And even that right there is not 100% guaranteed because of the markets and everything that happens, with daily in the stock market, okay? So you have to secure your future by working very strategic, smarter, not harder. Work smarter, not harder. And so I want to share with you this. If you do decide to have a business, or maybe you have a business that has not been cash flowing, you must have what I call premium offers. Okay. Let me see if I can make this a little bit thicker. Okay. You must have premium offers, which premium pricing is what that means. A premiumly priced offer. Okay. You're not going to create wealth in a business selling a $25 product, right? Unless you have access to hundreds of thousands of people that you can sell that to. You're not going to create wealth selling a $5 product. You're not going to create wealth even selling your services for $25 an hour, okay? So we're going to scratch that idea, right? You must at least have a product or service that you can offer that's priced at $10,000. Now, if you're just beginning, you're probably thinking, oh, I can never sell that. It's the mindset. What you believe becomes a thing. And if you believe that, then you would probably never sell that, right? But you got to get to the position where you're willing to bet on yourself and make an offer, because the offer that's never accepted is an offer that's never offered, right? So if you never actually offer a service or a product or something for $10,000, you'll never know that someone can say yes, right? And I'm not talking about friends, family, or whatever. They're probably never going to say yes anyway, but they're total strangers. There's something that you can do, produce, create, that's going to allow you to produce a $10,000 offer, right? And even if you do come up with like something that you can sell package bundle for the value of $10,000, you want to make sure that the outcome is going to be worth at least 10 times more than what people are paying for. So you want to make sure that the value that you're delivering is way more than the price that you're actually charging. So that means that a $10,000 offer times 10, that means the value needs to be at $100,000 as the outcome, right? Doesn't mean that you're going to show people or make people $100,000 at the end. It's just the value, whether it's saving their life, saving them their health, saving their marriage, whatever, helping them make more money, or whatever it's going to be. You have to have a $10,000 offer. And when you do this right here, when you have like at least a $10,000 offer, then guess what? Then now we can start getting into what's called millionaire math. Because how many $10,000 offers do you need to have to make $1 million? Let me look it up. Calculator. Okay. So we'll take $1 million. 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at my calculator right now. Y'all can't see it, but you take $1 million and you divide that by 10,000. I think it's 1,000. Maybe 100. So all you need is 100. So all it takes is 100 people to say yes to your 10K offer. Okay, that's it. Now let's flip this on its side. So let's just say I'm not ready to package together a $10,000 offer, but I can definitely offer something for $1,000 that's worth it, right? Again, the value needs to be worth 10K. Well, how many people do you need to say yes to that $1,000 offer? So let's just, I think it's 1,000. So let's say 1 million divided by 1,000 equals 1,000 people. Okay. So you need 1,000 people. Now you got to think about social media, your following. You got to think about the networking organizations that you're in, your friends, maybe it's the circle of influence that you're around. If you only have like you and maybe 10 people, then you got to get yourself out there. It's time to start joining the Chamber of Commerce. It's time to join like some of these trade associations, and get yourself out there, because if you don't even have 1,000 people to offer something to that may say yes, then that means like you're in this circle by yourself. You cannot do business alone. You got to get yourself out there. Okay. But even with this, right? Let's just say your conversion rate is 10%. Okay. You have a 10% conversion rate, which means that you've tracked the metrics and tracked the results of every time you talk to 10 people, one person say yes, which means that in order for you to get 1,000 customers to say yes, that means you need to talk to at least 10,000, because 10,000 is going to turn to 1,000. That means you have a 10% conversion rate. 10,000 people is who you got to talk to, whether on an email list, whether on phone calls, whether on a group webinar, or however you got to get in front of 10,000 people over a certain period of time. Then when you sell those 10,000 people $1,000 offer, then basically you are going to assure that you make yourself $1 million. Okay, that is it, right? So I know that I'm sharing a lot of information, but when it comes to like creating wealth for beginners, if you don't know this stuff, if you think you're going to do it with a book, no books is going to make nobody a millionaire. From the book, you want to have an offer, right? Like a class or some type of mentorship or something that you can package that's $1,000 minimum, right? So the book is just a lead generation technique to get people in front of you so that you can build your own database of maybe 10,000 people where 1,000 people will say yes to your $1,000 offer, okay? So a book is just a lead magnet. That is it, okay? So, but there's also like, you have to understand like W-2 mindset is different from a business owner mindset, which is different from a self-employed, and which is different from an investor. People on the right side of the quadrant, they think about having money and systems work for them. They also do this thing, right? I have a strategy, a methodology that I call the wheels of wealth, right? They also do this, okay? So the wheels of wealth, I want you to think about your business as a vehicle, okay? We all know a vehicle has what, 4 wheels? 4 wheels minimum to move forward. We're talking about traditional vehicle, not like 18-wheelers, like not an 18-wheeler, right? But a traditional vehicle has like 4 wheels to move forward, right? Well, your business has to have these 4 essential moving parts in order for you to start making a lot of money, okay? In order for you to start the process to creating wealth. The first things first is personal credit, right? I know nobody don't want to talk about that, especially if you're just beginning to create wealth. Personal credit is key. It is so key. Like, and trust me, I know I've been there. I've had a 500, a 530. I've had nothing less than a 530 credit score before for years. But all that stuff is fixable. Like you can repair that, right? The only thing that's holding your credit back, if that is like what you have, where your credit score is less than 700. If your credit score is less than 700, that means it costs you to have poor credit. It's costing you more money on any loans that you get with poor credit, any cars that you get, car notes, any mortgages that you're getting, FHA, with poor credit, it's costing you actually more money. So people who have good credit, they actually can save a whole lot more money, okay? And so in personal credit, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5. There's 5 components that goes into this. And the 5 components is what makes up a 800 credit score. And I'm not going to do a whole lot of math, but I want you to basically, let me share this screen real quick. What I want you to do is basically, do the math, right? All it is math. So let me share my screen, because I was able to fix my own personal credit, right? And this was like years ago when I understood like you need additional things in order to really get into the wealth game, and credit is one of those things. Before I didn't care about credit, but once I understood like all the wealthiest people that I started meeting, like they cared about it, and this is what they were doing. I'm like, I got to get myself in the game. Otherwise, I'll never give myself an opportunity to even begin to create wealth. And so payment history takes up 35% of that score. So if you want to know basically how many points your credit can get just by paying your bills on time, you would take an 800 credit score. So take 800 and you divide it by 35%. So that's how much points you can get. Actually, that number, the end number, is how many points you can actually have just for paying your bills on time. So I'm going to take 800 and I'm going to divide that by 35%. Wait, let's see. 800 divided by 0.35. Okay. And so that's 228 points. So just alone, 228 points into 800. This is how you can begin to optimize. So if you've never paid your bills on time, or if you haven't paid your bills on time, all you got to do is start fixing that. And it's going to shoot your credit score up by the difference between your scores right now, and it can shoot it up at least 80 to 100 points. Okay. So anyways, I'm not a credit expert. I just know some things because of the experience that I've had. If you need references on how to fix credit, I have some references that I can give you, but I'm just giving you the general basics based on my own personal experience. Okay. So how often you pay your bill on time is 35% of that score. Okay. Amounts you owe, which means that your debt to income utilization. So if you have like a $10,000 credit card, you don't want to max it out $10,000 every single month and you have a balance carrying over of $8,000, because that makes your that makes your score tank. So if you have you take that same 800 maximum points and you divide that by 0.30%, that means this is worth 266 points on your score. This is worth 266 points on your credit score. So debt to income utilization, you have to make sure that your bill, I know they say is at least no more than 30%. But when you get that thing down to 10% or less than 10%, you always want to carry a balance. But when you get it down to at least 6 to 8% every single month, right? Which means that you don't have to not use your credit. It's just that by the time the bill is due, you want to pay it down to at least 6 to 10%, because it's going to basically increase your credit, your credit score. And so this is all about credit profiling. Okay. So the length of credit history, you want to have at least 2 years of history on your credit, right? So if you're beginning building credit, then what you can do is piggyback off, a family member who's had really good credit over, 5 to 10 years or whatever. And you just get on one of those cards that they pay every single month, that they have an excellent credit score on, and that can help you increase your length of credit. There are also like authorized user accounts that you can piggyback on for like 90 days. That's the most that they can allow you to be a piggybacker on those authorized user accounts. It's a small nominal fee, but they do that to give you a credit boost during that period of time where you're looking to be able to access capital. So, and then 10% basically is calculated into credit use, types of credit use, which is like your credit mix. You want to definitely have like a revolving credit account, some type of credit card or store card, or something different, maybe like a car note. So how well do you handle different types of credit? That's 10% of your score. So 80 points you can max out just by having a good credit mix. And then like frequency of your credit, which are inquiries. So you definitely want to not have more than like 2 to 3 inquiries when you're looking to apply for good credit. Now, that is just like credit course crash. Okay. That's a credit building course crash course. Okay. On how to build credit and stuff like that. But here's the thing. When you do this and you basically start mastering how to fix your own credit and how to maximize on the potential points that you can get, then you can access what I call other people's money, OPM. Then you can access this, right? So you have to have at least a minimum of 680 points on your credit, or 700 preferred, right? 700 preferred. It opens up the door on your personal credit side for you to access at least $150,000 as a new business owner. And all you have to have is a business plan that shows how you plan to make money, how you plan to sell 1,000 units of $1,000 or 100 units of $10,000 over this 2 to 3 year period. You take that to the bank, they're going to give you at least $150,000. This is access to capital. If you have very little money, you have to get into the credit game, because this allows you to get on the other side of the quadrant where you're accessing capital, not just by work, because you got to work for it. I'm gonna save my money from working 9 to 5, and I'm gonna start my business from my own money. You will be broke broke forever. Like literally with that thought process, you will be broke forever. No, you have to access other people's money. And so with other people's money on the personal credit side, of course, you can get up to $150,000. No questions asked, like from banks. And it may happen over like 2 different banks, right? It may happen over 2 different banks, but it can definitely happen. It could happen on one bank, but it can definitely happen. So the other will requires business credit. So business credit can give you 4 to 5 times more than what you can get on the personal credit side. But here's the caveat to that. On the business credit side, you definitely have to have a product that is producing money, a product or a service that is already producing money, because they're not going to leverage you or give you access to money if you don't have any type of revenues coming through your account. This is why I say you want to have at least a $1,000 offer that you're selling, or a $10,000 offer that you're selling, and all these things. Like literally, you can do this in 90 days. Like you can do this in 90 days. You can in just 1 month, literally, if you do the things that I'm sharing with you, and you take the information and you put it into a strategy and execute upon it, in the first 90 days of your particular business, you can generate minimum like 10K a month. That's enough for the business credit to say, hey, we're going to give you access to 300, to $500,000, 300,000 to $500,000 based on your ability to produce money, right? When you have a business, you got to find a way to sell something good that somebody will say yes to. Okay. So we're talking about, now we have about 300,000 on the business credit side. We have 150,000 on the personal credit side. Collectively, that is like $450,000. What are we talking about? What are we even talking about here, y'all? We're talking about access to other people's money. Imagine if you had a W-2 job and you're like, I'm going to really build and scale a business using money from my job to get here. How long would it take you? You'll never get there unless you're leveraging systems, strategies, and loopholes that will get you there faster. You will never get there on your own. You got to know how to be strategic, okay? Because there are plenty of banks, plenty of business lenders that are waiting. They've been waiting to give you some money so you can give them some interest, like give them a little bit of interest back by leveraging the money. But what you do with that 450K, right? Maybe even 350K, it doesn't matter. It's other people's money that you're leveraging. Is you start producing these income producing assets, right? You turn it into cash flow. You turn money is a tool, right? Money is not designed, as we've been programmed to believe, to pay bills. Money is designed to live a legacy, like to live a lifestyle, to leverage, to help you create wealth. Money was designed as a tool to help you get out of your situation. But most people just go straight from, getting the money to paying the bills or buying the cars, which is a liability. Okay. Or, shopping. And this is basically a black hole. This is a black hole where your money goes to, right? You have to acquire assets, okay? So from here, we have a premium clientele, okay? This is a premium clientele. These are the clients that will buy $1,000 product or service. These are the clients that will say yes to a $10,000 offer. These are the clients that you can package up even a $100,000 offer, and you sell that to 10 clients. That's $1 million. Well, who are the people that will buy a $100,000 offer? Corporations, government agencies, six-figure executives, celebrities, right? Because money is not scarce. If you're afraid of money, if you're afraid to use money as a tool, if you're afraid of money, it will run from you. It will repel from you, right? So we got to break the cycle of poverty. And the only way to do that is to understand how to create wealth and play the wealth game. Stop playing checkers. Stop playing checkers and play chess, right? Play the wealth game. Okay. Now, this particular wheel right here is called the tax advantage strategy. The tax advantage strategy is how you basically keep money in your pocket, okay? You must deploy tax advantage strategies to keep money in your pocket. So what I mean by that, okay? So I'm going to shift again and clear my screen. We all know that the average American working class, working middle class, pays about 50% in taxes. They pay for income tax. When they sell things, they pay sales tax. When they have a business, the business also have taxes, okay? If you have a home or any real estate, you're paying real estate or land tax, real estate tax, okay? Land tax or whatever. When you go shopping, you buy stuff, you pay retail tax. We are taxed in the US crazily, like it's crazy taxes. So 50% of your income is taxed because you're always spending, okay? So in order to minimize how much money we're paying in taxes, we must deploy what is tax advantage strategies. Now, tax advantage strategies are vehicles that basically safeguards your money. Okay, so I can't get into all the vehicles, but I'm going to share with you some of them that safeguards your money. Okay, so instead of traditional, let me see if I can make this thicker. Y'all, I'm trying to make it big enough so y'all can see. Instead of traditional banking and savings accounts that pays you 0.002% on money that you put in and charge you like $10 to $20 a month just for you to have that account open, right? And if you like have beneath, like I think it's like maybe $5,000 in that account, then you're paying to keep a bank open, right? You're paying them, and basically all the monies that you put into that particular banking system, the banks gets 10 times from the what do you call that? The reserves. The Federal Reserves actually gives them 10 times the amount of money that you put into the account. So if over the year you're depositing about $80,000, let's just say minimum as an example, into your bank account, over the years, transaction after transaction, you've deposited about $80,000. Lo and behold, the bank has gotten $800,000 from the Federal Reserves. They have gotten that, right? And then what they do is they take it and then they lend money back out for credit cards. They lend money back out for car loans. They lend money back out in mortgages. They lend money back out for car loans, mortgages, and for just personal loans, and so on and so forth, for a percentage. And so they're making money off you, essentially. They're just making money off you. That's it, right? And so there are banks that does compound interest. If you put your money in these banks instead of traditional banks, they're going to pay you to put your money in their banks, right? These are the banks that pay anywhere from 3 to 5% or more daily compounding interest, which means that your money makes interest. The next day, your interest makes interest. The next day, all that money makes interest, and it begins to grow faster, right? So your money grows faster in these particular accounts. So if you go to bankrate.com, you can find banks like Synchrony. I think Synchrony is one of them. American Express, and these are like online accounts. You get access to your money. American Express, right? And there's some other banks that are on there that pays anywhere from like 4% to, anywhere from 5 to 6%, okay? Daily compound interest. So we got to bank smarter. We want to bank with someone that's valuing the dollars that we put into the bank and helping our money grow, right? Otherwise, it's costing you to put your money in the bank. So you got to be strategic. So this is a tax advantage strategy, is putting money where your money can grow and it can grow against inflation, right? Another tax advantage strategy is like purchasing real estate, right? When you purchase real estate and you put the real estate in the form of an LLC, now everything that you do to rebuild, to repair, right, or whatever, to flip, everything that you do for this house, all the money that you put into this particular house is called a business expense, right? So all of this money that you're putting into repairing, preparing that house to become a rental property is tax deductible, okay? It's tax deductible. So if one business or your W-2 job or whatever, right? If one business secures, is generating about $100,000, in order for you not to be taxed $50,000, if you're not acquiring assets that's going to offset that $50,000 tax, like this right here could be like a $25,000 yearly expense, right? Which means that $25,000 is going to come off of the $100,000 that you're taxed, and now you're only taxed off $75,000, whatever, as an example. Or it could be more. Maybe your expense is $50,000 in your real estate properties, because now you're acquiring these assets, and now you're only taxed on $50,000, and you're taking some of this money and you're putting into either a SEP IRA, self-employed IRA, which is safe, right? Where it's growing and it's protected against tax, or you're putting it into a what is called UEI, is IUL, Index Universal Life Policy, where your money is tax-free. It grows tax-free, right? And it's safeguarded. So your money grows tax-free against the market and is safeguarded. So those are some of the tax-free statuses or advantages that you can use. So going back to the Wheels of Wealth, again, going back to this particular Wheels of Wealth, you must have all of these a part of your vehicle: personal credit, business credit, premium clients, which are corporations, government agencies, six-figure executives, or even celebrities or whatever. So you got to have high ticket clients, okay? People who are willing to pay a high ticket price for the thing that you're looking to offer, right? That is the only way to get out of the rat race. And then you have to safeguard your money with a tax advantage strategy. So this is just basically wealth creation 101 for beginners. And I know I covered a lot of ground, like a lot of ground. But the biggest thing that's holding you back from creating the wealth that you aspire to have is your mindset. If you believe you can, you're right. If you believe you can't, you're right. If you believe there's no one out there that's going to say yes to a $10,000, even $100,000 offer, and you never make the offer, you're right, right? If you believe you can, you're absolutely right. But you got to be willing to do the work. And you cannot be afraid of money. You cannot be afraid to get money, ask for money, cannot be afraid to invest money, because the greatest asset that you can ever invest in is yourself, your future, your legacy, your family. You are your greatest asset. If you are afraid to invest in you, I don't know what to tell you. You are your greatest asset. So let me put my glasses on so I can look at some of these. Hey, Tiffany, what's up, sis? Hey, Tina. I need to grow and change. Yep. So I'm gonna put some of y'all comments on the screen. So I need to grow and change the people I'm around. Yeah, sometimes you just got to get out of your own circle. Like if there's nobody in your family, in your circle, your friends, like in your circle period, that you can go to say, hey, I'm gonna need to hold 25,000, or I'm gonna need to hold $100,000. You are surrounded by the wrong people. If you're the only person that has something to give your circle, then guess what? You've outgrown that circle, and it's time for you to connect with other people. I've had friends, like I have real colleagues, business colleagues or whatever, that I can say, hey, let me hold 150,000. But honestly, like I have also been the lender, right? I've been the lender where people was like, you know what, I need $20,000, I need $40,000, I need $70,000. I have been the lender. But you got to be careful who you lend to. That's what I'm saying. I'm just gonna say that, right? But anyways, because, people got to have the right mindset, and you got to know what is their relationship with money, right? If they have limited beliefs around money, you probably ain't going to see that money again. Okay. Hey, Alicia from North Carolina. Hello. Hastings from Africa. What's up? What's up? What's up? Switching up styles in the house. What's up, y'all? She said facts, like literally, Tiff, like, so my homegirl Tiffany, that's my girl, that's my boo, y'all. We went to school together, high school together. That was like my BFF from high school, whatever. So Tiffany, I'm just like, I've been trying to empower you to, just go ahead and do it. Don't talk about limitations. Just take the strategies that I just shared and use other people's money, because you can never get out of the rat race waiting for the perfect time. There is no such perfect time. You just got to take one step forward, take action. And guess what? People will come out the woodworks because they see that you are trying, and they will be like, hey, what do you need? Oh, I see you tried this. Oh, go over there. Like, your world is not going to open up staying in your comfort zone. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to be willing to risk it all, like literally, in order for the universe to respond, and it'll just basically say, oh, this person is ready for wealth creation. So anyways, y'all, that is my rant for today, y'all. I'm getting ready to go live again in just a moment. Actually, I'm getting ready to do a recording in just a moment with a very special guest expert from the movie War Dog. So I'm super excited about that. But anyways, y'all, that is my tip for today. This is a wealth guide for beginners, y'all. You want to create more wealth, go watch this video again. Put it on pause, put it on replay, take notes, go take action. And I promise you, you will begin to have momentum like no other, and your life could change forever. But you got to be willing to do the work. So Tina said, which banks, what banks will give you 150,000? There's a couple. There's a few, right? So there's a few. And again, it depends on your portfolio. Like how is your money generating enough money to be able to get a yes for 150,000. But you can also get access to up to 150,000, even if you're brand new in business, within your first 2 years of business, if you have a really well put together business plan that shows projections over the next 3 to 5 years, how you're planning to make money. And so there are some banks. I don't know if you're in the Bay Area, I think you are, but Travis Bank is one of them. There was a bank called Compass, they changed BBVA. So they were, I think they changed their name to Compass Bank or something, but BVBA, that particular bank. There is other credit unions like California Credit Union. Of course, in order for you to be a part of California Credit Union, you got to be an alumni of a CSU, a California University, or something like that to get access to that particular bank. But there are different banks, and there's so many different ways. Like credit and access to capital comes from a mix of either credit cards, a line of credit, which you can use, revolving lines, or loans. So there's all different types of funding options that are out there, and it all depends on where you are. If you have a 680 or 700 credit score, you can get yes all around, right? They're willing to trust you, but you got to have a real a real well put together portfolio and or business plan in order to access that. But all of those things are doable, and usually they ask you for like maybe 6 months, 3 to 6 months bank statement. So if your business is making nothing, the first step is to start making your business make something, which is why I talk about you got to have a premium offer like $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 or whatever, and sell that thing. Because if you never offer it and strategically offer it to enough people for them to say, yeah, that's going to get you at least $10,000 a month, like you could do that. You can make $10,000 in a day, like literally, if you do it the right way. I've helped people make hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single day. And I've helped people make $1 million in a single day, right? So it's all just math and it's strategy, and it's being willing to get out there and do it. So anyways, that is it, y'all. I got to go. But until next time, y'all, go be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, overcome all of your hurdles and your obstacles, and then you will have dominion. Check you next time.